And I went into this totally blind. I didn't understand what I was about to watch. And I heard it was a cartoon. And I thought it was like John said, something along the lines of Big Mouth or whatever. And Dr. Drew starts talking. And it's I didn't realize I was listening to a podcast. So when I hear Dr. Drew talking very off the cuff and kind of stuttering and stammering the way that we all do when we have a conversation, I was like, wow, this is some pretty good like voiceover acting. This sounds incredibly natural. And then when I realized, when I finally put it together, this is just kind of like an animated visual podcast. And then when you realize that, and then you look at what the cartoon characters are doing, like there's so many levels to it. So when you have the conversation, and then how much you have how much input do you have on what the animation is, and how do you come up with the idea of like, we're going to have him picking people off with a sniper rifle and crawling on top of dogs, and zombies are going to be eating houses and all that kind of shit. Cause that's what takes it to a whole new level.
That what you just said sounds like one of our writing sessions. Like that's pretty much it. Like and it's like, wow, is there a way we can make him crawl over dogs? Can we this is the beauty of animation. Because try to film someone crawling over a pile of dogs or something eating the White House, forget it. But animation, you could do anything. And what we did is we knew the show was going to be about Clancy's malfunctioning multiverse simulator, and we knew there was going to be apocalypse is happening. And so we had 2 weeks where we just came up with ideas for how the world could end, or some world could end. Like what if there was a world that used meat instead of electricity to light shit? And then what if there were like terrorists who fucked that up, and then the flies would come, like in that city, if like the meat stopped flowing, flies would come. And then you just sort of decode and unpack what that would look like if it fell apart. And so that we just came up with these beats for these, the journey that Clancy was going on with his guests. And then we took the podcast dialogue and tried to attach it to those beats.
Oh, so you're doing all the animation ideas first and then applying podcast to it?
Yeah, that's it. Oh, wow. Yeah. We had a writing room.
Guess the opposite.
Well, thank you. I mean, anytime any comment is like, this seems like a podcast, I feel like we did our job, because it is a podcast, but we didn't want that to be what we led with. We wanted it to feel like a natural conversation that was happening. And so, but that was really challenging. We showed them 3 minutes on the roof scene. That was our proof of concept. And with the president in 101, that's like three minutes. It's from the desk to when he goes on the roof, and it's funny and it's cool. But then Netflix is like, yeah, well, let's do 8. And then it's like, shit, will this even work for 20 minutes? And that was that first episode was such a challenge, man, because we were having to really figure out, how do you pin podcast dialogue to madness? And how do you do it in a way that doesn't conflict, where the two can't...
It doesn't take away from it or like convolute it at all. It's separate and so different, but also kind of is very like harmonious in a way, which is, I mean, we've experienced on a very different level. We'll take a highlight from our podcast and we've had someone animate it, but do it very literally. If John is telling a story about one time that he accidentally stole somebody's dog, we have the animation be him stealing a dog. But the idea of taking it and being abstract with it is totally different. But the audience always responded to that. There's something about animations and taking the audio and making it visual that it really hits home with people. And then you did it in such a different way that I think it's totally new. It's very cool.
Thanks, man. Well, podcasting, look at what's happening right now. Somehow in the last 6 or 8 minutes, I don't know how long we've been talking, we just feel like we're all hanging out. Like we're all feeling really relaxed and good with each other.
It's been 18, so it's been much longer than that.
Oh yeah, and that's the other quality of podcasting is it's so much fun. Time just vanishes. But we could just as easily be sitting in one of our homes, getting hammered right now in the day, yapping, and it feels like that. And people hear that. They hear that level of intimacy or connection, and so I think the challenge that all of us have had with podcasting is can it jump into another medium? How do you take this sort of like sloppy vulnerability that sometimes becomes poignant, usually it's pretty ridiculous, and then turn that into a show? And everyone's been, the rainbow wheels have been spinning trying to figure out how to do that. and without losing, this, because you don't want to lose this. You don't want to lose the quality of like the stammers and the stumbles and the because this is what people are like. But that being said, you don't want to lose what's awesome about TV, which is that you can't be sloppy or weird like that. It needs to tell a story, and so I'm excited that we got to be a little piece of solving whatever the puzzle is on how to sort of merge mediums, because people love podcasts, but how much do they love them? I mean, when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm usually doing something else. I'm cleaning, I'm zoning in and out. That's the other thing. We wanted people to be able to like zone in and out. We knew there's no, I've seen every episode hundreds of times, and I still hear new shit in those episodes I never heard when I was talking to them. So we just wanted it to be like, if you want to learn about how to do magic or lineages in Buddhism or whatever, great. But if you want to get blasted and melt into your couch and just watch pretty colors while hippies yap, you could do that too. Either one. What's up to you? Or both. You could go in and out if you feel like it, whichever. That's what we wanted.
It's actually the perfect. I think you said you're happy to be a piece, but I think you're a huge piece because you touched on it with podcasts where they're often ridiculous, occasionally accidentally poignant, and I think cartoons is the perfect medium for that because somehow cartoons allow you to do things that are more real, if that makes any sense at all, where it's like you don't have to operate in actual reality, so you can get ridiculous and then almost more easily make your point. Like in episode 1, the point being made with like there's no such thing as a bad drug, it's just a circumstance. And then what happens once you turn into the zombies is like, oh, this is fucking beautiful. Like this nailed it. This is so great.
Cool.
And it would be so hard to do that with just actual people. So I think the marriage of podcasting and the cartoons just perfectly highlight the highlights of each other.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was the crazy thing about it. It's like when you're merging with 120 people in an animation studio, and I don't know if y'all have ever met animators, man, but these are like spaceship pilots. Like these people are like deep, hardcore, purist punk rock artists. All they wanted, they have like the art director has tattooed on his arm symbols that only animators would know. It's like some kind, it's like a Masonic code, but it's like animation notes tattooed on his arm. They're deep in it, man. So what starts happening is they start hearing things in the dialogue that maybe you didn't hear and pulling it out. Like you're saying, like creating moments that like at least show their interpretation of what's being said. And, sometimes when I'm watching it, I'm like, holy shit, they're like kind of making fun of me right now. Like that was, you know what I mean? Like they're exposing like things in me that I didn't want to admit, but it's obviously right there. That was pretty intense and awesome. And not just that, but there's like all kinds of, in the Eccles episode, there's like people who are into magic for real are sending me images of like magical symbols next to moments in the show. I didn't say put that there. Right. I didn't say like put the Masonic triangle that represents moving through the stages of being a Freemason in the show. I had nothing to do with that. But there it is. Who did it? I don't know. There's 120 people on the show.
Being able to have an answer for this, but is there anything like there's so much in every episode? Is there anything that's random? Is there anything where they're like, fuck it, just put in an arm falling apart or a coffin becoming 3 coffins and something? Is there anything that doesn't have symbolism to it?
Yeah, man. That's the. I'm so glad you asked that because that's the other freaking layer of the show that's cool. You know that thing? It's like you play Pink Floyd "Dark Side of the Moon" to Wizard of Oz, and it syncs up. But then somebody I was talking to said, "Yeah, but if you play it to what's the name? Paul the Mall Cop. What's his name? Paul Blart. Paul Blart Mall Cop. If you play it to that, it also lines up, and it does. Google it. It's like, what the fuck? How is that possible? There's no way when they're doing the edit that they're playing Pink Floyd "Dark Side of the Moon," but it lines up. And so those happy accidents, they're in there, man, and and that's to me. I don't know. Only because like I'm not positive what we meant to have happen and what just happened.
Well, because you also get to a point where like the viewer is going to give you the benefit of the doubt all the time. It's like once you've established that you're a very artsy, in-depth guy, they're going to think this color means that and this means this. And like sometimes it's just like, I don't know, man, I fucking like purple. so that's why I made it purple. Or I like cats, so that's why he turned into a cat. Or and that's where you just got to sit back and let it happen. Be like, oh yeah, it was all intentional, dude.
Oh no, you know what?
The meaning, dude. Yeah, sure.
I think see, to me, I think it's trippier to be like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
To me, that because it's like, that seems to be more like what happens when you're making stuff. Is it? I don't know where it came from. Like I was in the shower, had a weird idea. I was blasted on ketamine. I saw meat rolling through tubes of some alien city. Where was that just my brain malfunctioning, or did I tune into some part of the universe where that's really happening, or somewhere in between? And then you mix everyone in, and suddenly you've got like tarot cards. Speaking of magicians, one thing that really annoys me is when someone zings out the tarot cards and they act like like the cards are telling the future, and they get all, and inevitably when they do that, you're going to pull the death card, and it's going to be awkward for everybody because it's like, oh God, oh no. But really, tarot cards are a reflection. They're reflecting you, and you're seeing this shit that you don't want to really deal with usually in the tarot card. So you look at the symbols in a tarot card, there's so many. Does it really mean anything? No, it's just it does actually, but what the interpretations are so infinite that you're just going to see yourself in it. Mm-hmm. And to me, I think Midnight Gospel, there's a piece of that in there, which is that you're going to see yourself in it to some degree. And I'm cool. I want it to be a Rorschach ink block test for people. I want it to be a way that you can maybe see shit that's inside of you that we didn't intend. That being said, we intended every single piece of it.